What do you think makes Durosanya different from Kolapo? Bear in mind that these two were in the same fraternity, these two gave their life to Christ, and these two are now Christians in the just released Abbatoir Series Season 6. But there's a very clear difference in their Christian journey, and here's what I found out. Let's go.
He's not that strong.
Master is not a man to contend with.
I fought him and I overcame him spiritually, and I will defeat him physically too.
When Durosanya gave his life to Christ, he moved in with Baba Gbenro and started living with Baba Gbenro, eating with Baba Gbenro. And just being in Baba Gbenro's house alone is a method of discipleship. So he was under the influence of Baba Gbenro and Martins, who took up the job of discipling him, training him, teaching him the word of God, and ensuring that he is now a true Christian from character to words. Even before he was arrested, you see that his Christian journey, the way he speaks, the way he thinks, everything, he really had time to, study the word of God and become a true Christian and understand what true Christianity is about. But on the other hand, Kolapo only gave his life to Christ. There was no discipleship, there was no mentorship, there was no training whatsoever. Nobody really took it upon themselves to, tell him what true Christianity is about and mentor him towards being a true Christian. So why Durosanya had the grace of good mentorship and training and tutoring, Kolapo on the other hand did not have that grace. This is why the church emphasizes so much on discipleship. Kolapo is coming from the secret sphere of the underworld. And we all know that one thing that is very, very evident in that fraternity is pride. Look at the way all of them speak, from the grandmaster to the least among them. But then, that character is not in Christendom. So when Durosanya gave life to Christ, even that aspect of him was killed. But when it comes to Kolapo, Kolapo still has that pride in him. So him saying, I defeated Grandmaster, it's not totally because he is trying to downgrade God, but it's just his nature. Pride has become their nature. And that's why it's always advised that whenever somebody gives their life to Christ, a period of discipleship and mentoring is very essential to remove the old characters, because you have to carefully and consciously take away the old characters, the old behaviors, the old normalities, and begin to teach them the normality of Christianity, because the normality of the world is different from the normality of Christianity. And if a newborn Christian isn't taught this, they begin to bring the normality of the world into Christianity, and then you see all manner of characters and behaviors in the life of so-called Christian, which is not supposed to be so. If discipleship was adhered to, Peter said milk are for babies. But the problem now is when a new baby comes into the church, we forget to give them milk. And by so doing, we kill them even before they start growing. Is this someone who gave his life to Christ yesterday, coming into the church, and because of charisma, influence, and all, you give them position? So somebody who hasn't undergone the method of mentorship, has not been discipled, is not holding a key position in the church. And so you now see leaders of churches doing things of the world, not because they actually want to, but because they are ignorant of the fact that this thing they are doing is not a normality in Christianity. Mentorship and discipleship can never be overemphasized, but they are very necessary in the growth of Christianity. Jesus said in Matthew 28, he said, go ye into the world and preach the gospel, making disciples of all nations. He did not just say preach the gospel. After preaching the gospel, the next step is to make disciples of all nations. So you don't just preach the gospel and leave it there. You preach the gospel, then you make disciples. And it is at that point that you can now say, okay, I have obeyed the full commandment of God. The same way you cannot be perfect in any skill without undergoing training. That's the same way you cannot be a true Christian without undergoing the training called discipleship and mentorship. And we must remember that Christianity is not a religion, it is a lifestyle. And I would love to plead with us to, go back to the landmark and the method of discipleship, because until we do that, we may not be able to get a true church which is spotless and blameless for Christ to come and rapture. If you're still watching to this moment, thank you so much. If you haven't subscribed, do it to subscribe, like, share, and comment your thoughts on what you think about Kolapo and Durosanya. Till then, see you on the next one. Bye.